He awoke to a familiar warmth and the scent of sandalwood and clean linen that was not his own. Leo moved, a fraction of an inch, and the arm around his waist tightened. A head of soft, dark hair nuzzled against his neck, the lips brushing his earlobe with a breathy heat that made him freeze. He pushed gently against the chest behind him, his whisper a strained sound in the pre-dawn quiet of the dorm room. He reminded Julian, again, that he was sleepwalking. This was the 30th day since Leo had found himself in this world, and the 10th time Julian had sleepwalked into his bed. It was a bizarre, unsettling pattern. Julian would only ever climb into his bunk, apologize profusely in the morning with a disarming smile, and then repeat the act a few nights later. Leo was becoming numb to it. A sleepy murmur answered him, the voice thick and husky. Julian asked for a kiss, his hand moving to cup Leo's jaw. Panic seized Leo. He clamped a hand over Julian's, his eyes darting to the privacy curtains of their two other roommates. Seeing no movement, he let out a shaky breath. His caution wasn't paranoia. Julian was the magnetic center of this story, and the other two occupants of the room, Caleb and Zane, were two of the three powerful men destined to fall for him. If they discovered Julian not only sought out Leo's bed nightly but also tried to kiss him, their possessiveness would likely ensure Leo met his scripted, watery demise ahead of schedule. Sensing Julian was still mostly asleep, Leo poked his arm. The other man yawned, a large hand tracing a lazy path down Leo's side. His gaze drifted from Leo's eyes to his lips, a slow, languid appraisal. He asked in a low, drowsy voice if he had been sleepwalking again, offering a hollow apology that held no trace of actual regret. Leo pressed a hand over his mouth, urging him to be quiet and get down before he woke the entire dorm. Julian sat up, his shoulders slumped and the edge of his eyes downturned, looking for all the world like an abandoned puppy. It was a look that could disarm armies, the very charm that had ensnared the story's three alpha males. For a moment, Leo felt a pang of sympathy. Julian's eyes lit up at the softening in Leo's expression, and he pressed his advantage, asking if he could just sleep with him from now on. The suggestion was so dangerous it was absurd. Leo pretended not to hear, scrambling down from the top bunk and retreating to the bathroom. When he emerged, Caleb was back from his morning workout, the air around him crackling with energy. Leo's eyes shot to the beds. Julian was already at his desk, as if he'd been there all along. Caleb, the story's primary suitor and Julian's childhood friend, peeled off his damp shirt without a second thought, tossing a paper bag onto Julian's desk. It was breakfast from a small bakery 3 miles off campus, Julian's favorite. It was the kind of thoughtful, attentive gesture that defined their relationship in the original narrative. Leo, ever the sycophant in his new role, immediately started in with a clumsy compliment about Caleb's dedication, joking that his abs could be used as a washboard. He didn't expect a response. Caleb's attention was usually reserved exclusively for Julian. In the past month, his constant, fawning praise had earned him little more than a dismissive nod. His strategy was one of attrition. If he made himself an indispensable, harmless cheerleader to the group, surely they wouldn't follow the script and dispose of him when they all found their happiness. Caleb's sudden offer to let him touch them made Leo choke on his water. He looked up, bewildered. This was not part of the pattern. From the corner of his eye, he saw Julian's head snap up, his gaze fixed intently on Leo. He felt a sudden, sharp spike of anxiety. He stammered, asking if he had heard correctly. Julian let out a short, mirthless laugh, telling him to go ahead if he wanted to, asking why he was looking at him. Before Leo could process, a wall of muscle was in front of him. Caleb looked down, his expression unreadable, and took Leo's hand, pressing it firmly against the warm, hard plane of his stomach. The skin was still damp, the heat startling. The sheer physicality of it, the defined ridges under his palm, sent a flush crawling up Leo's neck. Caleb's lips curved into a smirk as he leaned closer, murmuring that Leo seemed to like it. The comment broke the spell. Leo jerked back, only to collide with a firm body behind him. He hadn't even heard Julian approach. Julian's arm wrapped around his waist, a possessive anchor. His voice was deceptively pleasant as he asked if it was really that good to touch. Panic flared. Julian was jealous. Leo frantically tried to formulate a response that wouldn't get him killed, shaking his head then nodding, a picture of incoherent terror. But Caleb simply pulled Leo out of Julian's grasp, positioning him behind his own larger frame. He sounded almost smug when he pointed out that Leo wouldn't be blushing if he hadn't enjoyed it. Julian's face went cold, his dark eyes locked on the hand that had touched Caleb. Claiming he had a class across campus, Leo fled the tense standoff. As he walked, he replayed the morning's events, a growing unease settling in his stomach. Something was wrong, a deviation from the plot he couldn't quite identify. He shook his head, deciding it was pointless to try and understand the motivations of the main characters. His job was simply to survive. While trying to find his lecture hall and eat a bagel, a roaring Harley-Davidson appeared out of nowhere, clipping him at an intersection. He went down hard, his elbow and knee scraping raw against the pavement. The rider skidded to a stop several yards away, initially cursing at him for being on his phone. But upon seeing who it was, the man ripped off his helmet, his expression shifting to alarm. It was Zane, his other roommate and the story's second male lead, a reckless and impulsive athlete whom Leo had barely seen. In the original plot, it was Zane who personally handled his disposal. The pain was sharp and searing, but Leo forced a smile, insisting through gritted teeth that it was just a scratch. Zane's brow was furrowed in a deep line of concern. Without another word, he scooped Leo into his arms and strode towards the campus health center. It was the first time in his life Leo had been carried like that, and the attention it drew was mortifying. Zane burst into the clinic, yelling for a doctor and claiming his friend was dying of pain. Leo buried his face in Zane's chest, wishing the ground would swallow him whole. The nurse gave him some antiseptic wipes and ointment. As Leo was about to tend to his wounds, Zane took the supplies from him, insisting he would do it. Leo hesitated, attempting to politely decline, but Zane was adamant. There was a tense silence as Zane knelt before him, his brow still knitted in that same intense frown. Leo began to worry, wondering if Zane was angry at him for the accident. Just as Leo was about to insist on doing it himself, Zane spoke, his voice rough. He remarked on how pale and thin Leo's legs were, admitting he was afraid he'd break him just by applying the ointment. The comment was so unexpected it left Leo speechless. Zane picked up a cotton swab, his focus absolute as he carefully cleaned the abrasions. His intense scrutiny made Leo's skin tingle. Zane might have been a brute, but there was an odd gentleness in his actions. To make up for the accident, Zane declared he would cover all of Leo's meals for a month. Leo was secretly thrilled. The character he inhabited was a perpetually broke college student, a fact that fueled his original resentment toward Julian, who, despite a similar background, attracted wealthy benefactors like Caleb. This jealousy was the catalyst for the villain's downfall. Seeing Julian in person, Leo understood the disparity. Julian wasn't just handsome, he was ethereally beautiful. Compared to him, Leo's character was painfully average. Later, Zane slung a heavy arm over Leo's shoulders, half dragging him to the cafeteria like a captured stray. He told Leo to save a table while he got their food, which led to Leo finding himself at a table with Julian and Caleb. Julian sat next to him without hesitation. Caleb paused for a moment before taking the seat opposite. A familiar dread settled over Leo. Zane returned, trays laden with food, and stopped short when he saw the occupied seats. He questioned what Julian and Caleb were doing there. Julian, noticing the heaping plate Zane set in front of Leo, replied with a dry, nonsensical insult. After a brief, profanity-laced exchange, Zane sat down and affectionately called Leo his little Leo. The term made Leo spray a mouthful of rice across the table, some of it landing on Caleb's plate. Both Julian and Caleb's expressions hardened. Julian asked with a false smile since when the two of them had become so close. Leo's mind raced, unsure how to defuse the situation. To his astonishment, Caleb simply resumed eating, ignoring the rice. Zane, oblivious, saw Leo choking and tried to force his own bowl of soup on him, making both Julian and Caleb's faces darken simultaneously. Leo despaired. This free month of meals was going to be the death of him. A few days later, the campus gossip blog exploded. A photo had surfaced of Julian and Caleb appearing to kiss outside a building. The comment section was a war zone of shippers, homophobes, and heartbroken admirers. That evening, Zane, who rarely stayed in the dorm, stormed in, his voice echoing in the hallway. He demanded to know if the photo was real. Julian, engrossed in a computer game, confirmed it was them without looking up. Caleb calmly explained it was a misleading angle. Julian had stumbled on the stairs, and he had caught him. As he spoke, his eyes flickered towards Leo, as if the explanation was meant for him. Leo dismissed the thought as narcissistic. Then Julian smirked and announced that he did, in fact, like men. Zane froze, taking 3 large steps back as if Julian had become radioactive. He stammered in disbelief, then clutched his arms to his chest, Julian not to get any ideas about him. The reaction was so extreme it didn't align with Leo's memory of the book. Julian's gaze turned icy as he retorted that while he might be gay, he wasn't desperate. Zane was about to start a fight when Leo interjected. He argued that sexual orientation was no different from preferring one food over another, and it wasn't something to be disgusted by. He added quietly that no one truly knew what they wanted until they found it. As he spoke, Caleb stopped what he was doing, and Julian gave him a long, meaningful look. Zane, however, just looked betrayed, complaining that Leo wasn't taking his side before storming out again. Later, as Leo was about to sleep, Caleb noticed his knee. His usually stoic face creased with a slight frown as he asked if Zane had caused the injury. Leo nodded, and Caleb stared at the wound for a long moment before leaving the room with his phone in hand. It was all very strange. The next morning, Leo woke up once more with Julian pressed against his back. He was exhausted by it. He slipped out of bed without waking him, but his left hand felt strangely weak and sore, almost causing him to fall. He shot a glare at the sleeping figure, blaming Julian for crushing his hand in his sleep. At breakfast in the deserted cafeteria, a commotion at the entrance announced the arrival of the athletics teams. Zane spotted him immediately, rushing over and chiding him for not waiting so he could buy him breakfast. He snatched Leo's bowl away and marched off to get him a new one, drawing stares from everyone. His teammates teased him about getting food for his little wife, which Zane vehemently denied, insisting they were just buddies. The meal was an exercise in awkwardness. Zane, acting with an unearned familiarity, even picked a piece of carrot Leo had pushed aside and ate it himself, commenting on his picky eating. After breakfast, Zane insisted on giving him a ride to class on his bicycle, his motorcycles having been confiscated by his father. The ride was surprisingly fast, and Leo found himself grateful for the confiscation. That evening, he ran into Caleb, who was uncharacteristically alone. Caleb explained that Julian had a competition and was at a training camp. The two walked in an awkward silence until they reached a fork in the path. Leo offered a fake bright smile, saying he had a guest lecture to attend for extra CR and would head straight there. Caleb, who had been walking towards the dorm, abruptly changed direction, stating he would go with him. His tone was quiet but left no room for argument. Dinner was silent. Any attempt Leo made at conversation was met with Caleb putting down his utensils and giving him his full, unnerving attention, which quickly discouraged further attempts. On the way to the lecture, Caleb suddenly asked if he had been getting close with Julian lately. Clicked for Leo. The protective suitor was staking his claim. Relieved to finally understand, Leo quickly assured him they were not close and that he knew Caleb and Julian were the real pair. Caleb's response was a flat no. Before Leo could ask what he meant, he decided to change the subject, cautiously mentioning that Julian had been sleepwalking and might need to see a doctor. Caleb's expression grew serious. He asked what Julian had been doing during these episodes. Leo demurred, suggesting vaguely that he just wandered around. Caleb stopped walking, his gaze piercing. He asked directly if Julian had been getting into his bed. Leo's frantic denials were unconvincing. After a long, scrutinizing silence, Caleb looked away and agreed to take him. The lecture hall was nearly full, forcing them into the front row. When the speaker took the stage, a man in a tailored suit, Leo felt a jolt of recognition. The name on the projector screen confirmed it: Damien Thorne. The third and final male lead, a sophisticated and ruthless CEO who was, according to the book, the most depraved of them all. Throughout the lecture, Damien's gaze kept landing on Leo, accompanied by a polished, gentle smile. After the event, as Leo tried to make a quick exit, Damien's voice boomed over the sound system, asking for Leo to stay behind. He and Caleb were escorted to a side room. Damien soon entered, dismissing the university officials. He thanked Leo for an incident a few weeks prior, when Leo had found and returned a laptop bag containing sensitive company data. Leo now remembered the event. He had been running an errand for Julian and hadn't realized the man in the car who thanked him was Damien. Damien was charming and polite, and upon learning Leo was looking for an internship, he immediately offered him a position at his company. Leo was floored. According to the timeline, Damien should have been focused on Julian. Before he could question it, Damien placed a hand on his shoulder and asked if he would be so kind as to walk him to his car, as his assistant had already left. Before Leo could answer, Caleb stepped in, coldly telling Damien he could ask campus security. Damien ignored him, his smile fixed on Leo, waiting. Torn between his fear of Caleb and the allure of a prestigious internship, Leo told Caleb to go on without him. Damien's smile widened. Caleb then moved between them, putting an arm around Leo's shoulder and stating that he would accompany them both. In the weeks that followed, Damien frequently texted Leo, and Caleb apparently took Julian to a doctor, as the sleepwalking ceased. However, a rift seemed to form between Caleb and Julian, their interactions now strained and argumentative. Only Zane remained his usual boisterous self. One evening, with the dorm to himself, Leo was emerging from the shower when the door was kicked open. Zane stood there mid-sentence about his grueling training and froze, his eyes wide as he took in Leo's state of undress. A deep blush crept up his neck. After an awkward silence, he stammered an excuse and then, his voice suddenly husky, offered to redress the old wound on Leo's knee. Before Leo could react, Zane was kneeling before him, his warm hand gripping his ankle. He leaned in close, his voice a low rasp as he asked where the ointment was. Leo explained the wound had already healed, but Zane just stared, his gaze fixed on Leo's collarbone for a long moment before he finally let go, looking strangely disappointed. Zane's behavior grew more peculiar. He started staying in the dorm every night and even began attending classes with Leo. One afternoon, back in their room, he cornered Leo, a strange resolve in his eyes. He told Leo he needed to confirm something and asked for his help. Before Leo could ask how, Zane leaned down and kissed him. The kiss was initially tentative, then suddenly fierce and demanding. Leo struggled, but Zane held him fast, pressing him against his desk. Just as his lungs began to burn, the door opened, and Caleb and Julian walked in. They both stopped dead, their faces darkening into thunderous expressions. Zane pulled back, licking his lips. He shot an annoyed look at the newcomers, complaining about their timing. Julian dropped his bag and yanked Zane away from Leo, his voice laced with venom as he asked if Zane was gay now. Zane just grinned. He confirmed that he was, and that he had just decided he was going to pursue Leo. The statement hung in the air. Then Julian gave a cold, empty laugh. Then it's fair game. The world had gone mad. The three men who were supposed to be vying for Julian's affection were now in a bizarre competition for Leo. They went everywhere with him, a strange four-person entourage that drew stares across campus. Their constant vying for his attention was exhausting. One evening, Caleb offered to help him with some difficult homework questions in the library, a welcome excuse to escape the other two. To Leo's dismay, both Julian and Zane tagged along. In the library bathroom, Caleb cornered him, his voice low. He acknowledged how annoying the other two were and offered Leo a way out. Be with him. The suggestion was so ludicrous Leo almost laughed. He politely but firmly declined. This had to be a new, elaborate trap set by the world's narrative. His only goal was survival, and that meant staying out of their romantic crossfire. He decided to hide. He took Damien's internship offer early and moved into the company dorm. Damien was, at least on the surface, the most normal of the four. He was a kind and patient boss, even taking Leo to important industry events. Leo, trying to be useful, often helped shield Damien from aggressive networkers, drinking more than he should have in the process. One night, after a gala, he was a dizzy, incoherent mess. Damien helped him into his car, and the next thing he knew, he was in a luxurious, unfamiliar apartment. Damien told him gently that he needed to bathe before going back to the dorm. In his drunken state, Leo agreed, fumbling with his own clothes. Damien's voice was a low, seductive purr as he asked Leo to help him with his shirt buttons as well. He awoke the next morning in Damien's bed. He fled the bedroom only to find Damien sitting at the dining table, impeccably dressed, sipping coffee. He greeted Leo with a warm smile and invited him to breakfast. Leo, clad in Damien's oversized pajamas, was mortified and tried to excuse himself. Damien stopped him, a helpless sigh in his voice, as he asked if Leo had forgotten what he'd said the night before. He then played a recording on his phone. It was Leo's own voice, slurred with alcohol, delivering a passionate, heartfelt confession of love, begging Damien to be his boyfriend. As Leo stood there, stunned into silence, Damien wrapped an arm around his waist. He had accepted the confession, he said softly. Now, Leo was his and he wouldn't let him leave. Life became a gilded cage. Any attempt to explain that his drunken words were meaningless was ignored. One morning, He woke up to find a slender silver chain connecting his ankle to the bedpost. Damien kissed him softly, murmuring that he had been warned. After a month of perfect obedience, he was allowed out. He ran straight for the university, planning to grab his documents and disappear. In the school courtyard, a shy underclassman asked for his help moving some boxes. Afterwards, she confessed her long-standing crush on him and asked if he would be her boyfriend. Before Leo could gently turn her down, the door to an adjacent room burst open. Julian, Zane, and Caleb emerged. They wordlessly extracted him, leaving the girl standing in stunned silence. Back in the dorm room, Julian paced, his voice dripping with icy rage. He sneered at the other two, mocking their give him space strategy. It had clearly backfired, he hissed, if Leo was now trying to find a girlfriend. Zane agreed, furious that they had let Damien hide Leo away. Caleb said nothing, simply locking the door and drawing the blinds. He admitted it was his mistake and, as an apology, said the other two could go first. Leo tried to reason with them, to plead, but they closed in, their expressions a mixture of hunger and betrayal. Just then, a knock sounded at the door. Damien's assistant's voice, flat and professional, announced that Mr. Thorne was expecting Leo home for dinner. When Zane yelled at him to get lost, the lock on the door clicked open. A few quiet phone calls later, Caleb, Julian, and Zane reluctantly let him go. He was back in Damien's prison. After a punishment he refused to remember, he was confined to the villa. He learned that Damien, for all his gentle smiles, was the most terrifying. He played the part of the docile pet, planning his escape. The opportunity came when Damien was on an overseas business trip. A fire broke out in the neighboring villa. A fire, he would learn, that was set by Julian in his own family's property. Julian appeared in the chaos, pulling Leo into a car and speeding away. He told Leo they were eloping to a place where no one would ever find them. The madness was too much. At a highway rest stop, while Julian was inside buying food, Leo slipped away. He paid a truck driver a handsome sum to take him far, far away, in any direction. 2 years later, on New Year's Eve, Leo walked home through the quiet streets of the small town he now called home. He had a simple life, a job at a convenience store, and was slowly saving up for a small house. He pushed open the door to his apartment and froze. The lights were on. Sitting and standing around his tiny living room were 4 familiar figures. Damien, by the window, extinguished a cigarette and turned, a slow, cold smile spreading across his face. "Happy New Year, darling," he said. "You've had your fun for 2 years. It's time to come home."